What's going on, guys? It's Brian Wise with B Wise Realty out of the Empire Realty Group offices, and today I have the pleasure of sitting with my Annie Mac guys. We've got Jeff Kane over here and Jason Smathers, and we're going to talk to you today about what separates them from everybody else and how to help you in your future. So tune in. All right, guys, whenever you're ready, take it away.
You want to start off? Just about the company?
Yeah. So thanks for having us, obviously.
No problem. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, Annie Mac is a kind of a newer name to this market. What did we bring this here 3 years ago?
December of 22.
22.
Okay.
So yeah, three years here, but the company itself's been around since 2012. Mortgage banker, so that just means we lend our own money, right? We don't. You're not going to come do checking and savings with us or credit cards or car loans, anything like that. But so that's our specialty. Home mortgage is all we do. So I think that's kind of people, they bank with, whoever you might bank with, and some people get their mortgage there, but those people they're selling home equity loans, they're selling credit cards, they're doing car notes and everything. All we do one thing, and we do it really, really well.
So it's your specialty, your focus is that, which
Yeah.
is awesome, especially for people who are nervous to get into the market and things like that. Knowing that you guys are 100% focused on that one thing for them is pretty huge.
Yeah.
And I was just going to say, our team, especially here locally, we have local processing. We employ all of the underwriters on top of that, but most importantly, the experience that we have within our Rochester branch is, we're combined, we're well over 100 years in experience. Jeff brings 20 plus years. I bring almost 25 years to the table, as long as our processors also have 30 plus years, each. So there's a lot to be said. We have a very well-oiled team. We're here to help support the community, help the agents be able to grow their businesses, but also be able to put more clients into homes today versus, waiting down.
Which is huge right there.
Yeah.
Because that's the end goal for all of this, and you guys have been able to bring in some pretty creative programs to help people in these situations. So that's cool. So if you guys had to, kind of say, outside of what you already did, a couple of the separating factors from some of the other local lenders or the major lenders in the area, what would that be?
Well, obviously, we're going to pick on buy now, sell later first. Right now, it's a game changer. You've obviously seen some of that, with some of the other agents that I've done business with in the Empire, family. But most importantly, it takes that contingent seller / buyer, right, and now makes them a cash non-contingent buyer.
Which is huge in this market, especially when you're going up against the competition.
And it's not a bridge loan.
And that's a huge factor too.
Well, it's not actually a loan at all, which is really what makes it different. So, everyone has, speaking of competition, everyone has their kind of spin on, we've got a cash guarantee or some version of a buy now, sell later. And the question I would always pose is, ask that company, whoever it may be, how many houses have you actually purchased? Because a lot of it is just a marketing tool, which is fine. We all have to market. You're only alone in something for so long. If it's good, somebody's going to copy it, or at least copy it the best that they can to the extent of their risk tolerance, right? Where Annie Mac has, we own a separate private equity company that funds all of this. So you see those offers coming through. Be Annie Mac Cash to Keys. That's actually the purchaser on a buy now, sell later, as an example. Yeah. So we've closed over 1,700 at this point of these in the Cash to Keys platform, and then combining that with the buy now, sell later. If somebody has a house to sell, we've physically actually purchased and taken title. So Annie Mac Cash to Keys has taken title to over 500 homes. So this is not only is this a huge opportunity for consumers, but for agents such as yourself, right? You can, I assume you've been on a listing appointment where they say, hey, Brian, you know what? We love your marketing strategy. Love that you're going to use a professional photographer. I love that your pricing strategy. And I know that you're out there. You're on social media. You're doing it. You're working. You're grinding. I know you're going to sell my house. Problem is, I got nowhere to go.
Right.
And I don't know how long it's going to take me to find something. So I'm really not comfortable putting that sign in my yard right now, because you sell my house in 3 days, right? Which you're a rock star. You know they're going to do that, right? So you sell my house in 3 days. Where am I going? Now, do I have to hurry up and try to buy something? Maybe I'm settling. Maybe I'm not finding that home of my dreams because I have pressure to get out here. I'm getting a great number on my house, and I feel pressured to make a move that I don't necessarily want to make. Well, that's okay. Call the Annie Mac guys. We'll get you approved for buy now, sell later, and basically we're just doing a valuation on that home they're eventually going to sell. And we treat that equity as though it's already sitting in their bank account. So if they have $100,000 sitting in equity there that's all wrapped up, we'll treat that as though they're sitting in their bank account. We'll qualify them based on the payment on the new house, so they don't have to qualify for two payments. There, to Jason's point, there's no bridge loan, so they're not qualifying for a home equity line, the payment on the house they currently have, the payment on the house. They only have to qualify for that home of their dreams that they eventually find, right?
Yeah.
So now they're qualifying on that. You're now taking them out shopping, non-contingent cash, and they haven't even listed their home for sale yet.
Game changer. That non-contingency is huge.
Yep.
Because in this market, when you get a list of offers and there's only one with contingencies, it goes to the bottom of the pile.
Done.
You know,
You're done.
So especially to go back on what you were saying about somebody in the position that doesn't want to sell their house because they don't have that next move lined up. That's a huge weight off of their shoulders to be able to start looking into the market, finding those opportunities versus being pressured to, like you said, settle. Because nobody wants to do that on one of the biggest transactions of their lives.
Sure.
Yeah. So that becomes your pitch. Hey, you know what? Let's get you qualified for this, which is pretty easy to do. I mean, a very, very high percentage of people qualify. We're not requiring, you don't have to have a certain level of equity in that home that you're leaving. I mean, you can virtually have no equity in that home that you're leaving. If there's none, that's okay, as long as you have money to buy the next house. Okay. So there's no equity requirement. The credit score requirements are very, very minimal.
Yep.
We'll do cash to keys down to 640. We'll do buy now, sell later down to 660, and we'll actually average the credit score. So if you have somebody that's below, somebody's above, we'll mesh that together and make it work.
That's pretty cool.
So it's really a very lenient. The goal, Cash to Keys was basically tasked with find opportunity that will actually help agents list and sell more homes. We can take you to lunch all the time. We can buy you coffee. We can do all those things. We can send you flyers and rate sheets. But what can we actually bring to the table that's going to push your business forward?
Push the business,
and not
clients.
And mutual benefit, right? It's helping you. It's helping clients. So it's an absolute game changer. And I am unaware of any competitor that has anything even close. They might package something up and try to make it look like it, but it's just, again, ask them, how many houses have you bought?
Right.
Yeah.
Numbers usually zero.
And one of the other big things to point out too is that once they go under contract on, the house of their dreams, and we go in and purchase it, we then give you 6 months to sell their departing residence.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I mean,
And
the
they don't pay
risk
a monthly rent.
is so low for the borrower, for the seller/buyer, you know what I mean? But it frees up and it just gives them the autonomy to be able to move out slowly, be able to do any painting, carpet, whatever they want to do on their new home to make it, the house of their dreams.
That's awesome. So now, if you don't mind me asking a question, there's got to be some form of a fee involved with a program like that, or something in the back end of things.
Sure.
How does all that work?
So it's a great question.
Yep.
And I'll tell you that the end goal for this is market share, right?
Okay.
So the program is not designed as a cash cow for us. We're not, most of our competitors charge between 1% and 2% of the purchase price to participate in a cash guarantee or whatever version of a buy now, sell later that they may have. What we do is we collect a retainer. And we refer to it as a retainer because it's like an attorney, right? If you use all your retainer, you might not have any money back. So in a buy now, sell later scenario, the retainer was 2.5%.
2.5%.
So they're going to put up 2.5% of the purchase price with their attorney, who also represents the bank. So they'll do a bank and buyer attorney will hold 2.5% of the purchase price. Okay. So you get that potential seller, in contract on the home of their dreams. At that time, the same time they're writing the earnest money deposit check, they're going to put up a 2.5% with the closing attorney. Okay. Now you hurry up and list their house for sale, and you line up those closing dates, which we already know you're going to sell that house in 3 days anyways, right? You line up those closing dates, that just becomes additional EMD, right? So the program in that scenario is absolutely free.
Oh,
so
huge. So it's not like they're having to pay more for that program like some of the other ones out there.
Correct. No markup to the rate. So the interest rate's whatever they qualify for.
Yep.
And the fee is 100% credited towards them, assuming you line up the closing dates. Now, let's say they don't line up the closing dates. They want us to buy the house, right? Maybe you say, hey, you guys, you've been in this house for 50 years. We might want to declutter, stage this thing, and maybe we can get some more money for it. So we will retain 1% of the 2.5 that we collect as a retainer.
Okay.
If we purchase the home on their behalf, we retain 1% of that.
I got
You got a couple sets of transfer tax, closing documents, things like that. So it's again, it's not a money maker for us. It's just to offset the logistics and the costs. But again, most people are charging 1 or more percent regardless.
Right.
Our cash keys and our buy now sell later can be executed for 100% free
No kidding.
in the event we don't have to step in and purchase the home.
Yeah.
So that's really awesome, especially the fact that if you line up the closing dates, which is just going to make everything easier and smoother for the clients anyways, they get to keep all that money in the transaction. That's pretty huge.
Yeah, and I want to kind of focus on that 1% that we do retain. We don't make any money on that. I mean, because we're selling in New York State, we have to sell that house back to somebody.
Right.
That's just covering the fees to offset what we have to do in order to transfer that back to them.
Okay.
To Jeff's point, we're not looking to make money on that right
Right,
there. You know, I mean, the end goal is just to do the mortgage.
Yeah, and that's the only scenario where somebody would lose their entire 2.5% because we're representing them as cash. They're using our, we provide an actual bank statement, so it's not like a letter stating Annie Mac will buy the house. We're actually giving you a bank statement. Here's $2 million, $10 million, whatever the balance happens to be at the time. So here's our bank statement. Go buy this house in cash. We'll write the check for you. And I lost my train there, but
Well, just even to the point of, let's just say somebody loses their job, right?
Oh,
A competition, that's a way for them to be able to not have to purchase that home.
Right.
We signed on the dotted line. We're buying the house.
That's huge.
Jeff can go over a scenario that he had. We have people lose forms of income and they no longer qualify. They go out and buy a boat, a car, whatever, mess up their credit.
Yeah. Seen that
All
once or
those things
twice.
have happened.
we've all seen it.
Every one of those things has happened. But even let's go a step further. Let's go say you just get cold feet, Brian. You don't want your house. You don't want this house anymore. You're like, you know what? You can keep my EMD. We're still buying the house.
And that's another unique, very, very unique factor of our program. If you read the fine print, we don't give ourselves all the outs that the competition does. So we had a lady moving from California to New York. She was buying like a $1.1 million house, whatever it was. Well, I don't know. She must have got a map or something and realized it's cold here. Right? Changed her mind. Didn't want to move here.
Rochester winters, man.
Didn't want to move here anymore. But she was represented by our cash.
Yeah.
So we're obligated to purchase the home. So she changed her mind. She's like, I'm not moving to New York. I'm not buying the house. Well, we bought it. So think about that from your perspective as a real estate agent. Two things happen there. Number one, there could be other transactions tied to that. That seller's counting on that closing for some reason. Like they want to sell that house for a reason. Right. So they weren't forced to relist the home, put it back in. Annie Mac stepped in, purchased the home. Well, guess what? That client doesn't want the house. What are we going to do? Now you get a listing.
All right, I like to see
Get paid,
right? So now
twice.
now that $1.1 million house just turned into $2.2 million in volume for you because we bought it.
Right, through the transaction.
And now, but we're not going to give it to the original listing agent. They didn't send us the business. You did.
Right.
So now you get to list that home for sale. So you're not. It's not ideal. Somebody loses their job, something like that.
Right. We don't wish for those things. But what's cool is in those events, you guys keep the transactions moving, which is amazing for the sellers because I can't tell you how frustrating it is thinking you've got everything lined up, ready to close,
Sure.
And then things happen. Understandably so. You can't control every aspect, but then the seller's then forced to put it back on the market. They've just missed a ton of buyers who have gone elsewhere. And it's pretty cool that you guys kind of keep that from happening by doing the business yourself.
And we'll purchase a home just to close on time. So if for some reason the buyer's not ready to close, whether it's maybe the loan isn't fully ready or whatever the issue might be, but you've got other transactions tied to this thing, right? You need to close Friday, and maybe we're not going to be ready till Tuesday or Wednesday for some reason. We'll buy it on Friday for you. And we'll sell it back to them on Tuesday or Wednesday, if it's important. I mean, if it's a couple days, obviously it's easier to just push it along because they will lose 1% of the purchase price for that handful of days. So naturally, if you can push it. But if you can't,
miss that opportunity,
right?
Then that's a great saving line right there for them. So that's pretty awesome.
We just throw insurance on it quickly, wire the money, and we're done.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And Jeff had that happen, what was it, last year? He had a borrower lose a form of income. He no longer qualified. Yeah. So instead of making that call to you as a listing agent saying, hey, Brian, our borrower doesn't qualify anymore. In 2 days, we had the money wired and it closed.
We found out on Monday the guy lost a source of income, and we bought the house on Thursday.
No kidding.
Yep.
Yeah.
No kidding. Yeah, I don't know too many other people that would be willing to do that. That's for sure.
No.
And that gentleman ended up, we found a non-QM product for him, and he came back in and bought that house from us.
Yeah, so he lived.
Everybody still wins.
He lived.
circle.
Yeah, he lives in the house. But there were transactions tied to that thing, so you know how that is, right? You think you're closing now.
Yeah.
I mean, to restart a loan and find a non-QM solution, you're starting back from scratch. So you're 3-4 weeks out. So that could be a big deal for a seller that's
Absolutely.
counting on those funds to buy the next house, or you don't know what somebody's doing.
Well, and then selfishly speaking, like as an agent, when I'm doing business on the buy side and I'm building a relationship with the listing agent, I want them to be confident in my ability to close.
Yeah.
And so if there are things that happen that are going to work against me, and then I've got to make that phone call, say, hey, unfortunately the deal fell through. Sorry, best of luck. That hurts my future in this business and my reputation. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, it's out of my hands at a certain extent, but just knowing that by doing business with you guys alleviates that risk is absolutely huge, because at the end of the day, I want everybody chirping that I do good business.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to be affected because somebody buys a boat, or, somebody does get, loses their stream of income or whatever.
Yeah.
And then going even further for the client, I mean, that can be make or break on them and their family. So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I'd be remiss if we didn't bring up appraisal assurance.
Oh, you read my mind.
So, I mean, we briefly kind of talked about it before in the past, Bri, but I mean, this is something that not only can enhance the buy now, sell later piece of it, right? Because sometimes we may need to require an appraisal on certain transactions, right? It all depends on the borrower's situation. There's times when we don't need appraisal verbiage on the contract. But here's ways when we do need to have appraisal verbiage for whatever reason. We got appraisal assurance where we'll guarantee the value as long as the borrower's putting at least 10% down.
Okay.
Let's just say the house is whatever listed for $200,000. Brian, you have the buyer, you think it's going to go for $250,000, $275,000, whatever the case may be. We'll do a mini appraisal on that property at no charge to the borrower and or you, and guarantee, let's say, $250,000 or $275,000.
Yeah.
And if that house doesn't appraise, we still guarantee whatever you wrote the offer for. The seller is still getting that. So now imagine in taking that with your listings now.
Yeah.
And marketing your listing that way.
Right.
We can guarantee it in advance. The only caveat is the house has to be MLS listed, so we can't do it in advance of a listing.
Okay.
Right.
But let's say you list a home for sale today, and you say, I'm going to list this at $299, and you think maybe it'll go for $330, $340, whatever the case, doesn't matter. We run it through appraisal assurance. It's a 4-hour turn time. So they're just using your MLS photos, running comps, creating a value, and so we actually have an offer going in on one as we speak, right?
Yeah.
That the house is listed for $299. We ran it through Annie Mac Appraisal Assurance, call it AAA, and we guaranteed the value at $360. So as long as that purchaser and the client's escalating to $350, so it doesn't matter. So if they hit their escalation, if that house appraises for $200,000,
It's still
we're guaranteed. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And to the extent that whatever we guarantee, so if that client's putting 10% down, there's going to be private mortgage insurance on that loan, right? Yeah. So if that home under appraises, let's say that private mortgage insurance was based on 10% down, but that appraisal comes in a little low, so now that mortgage insurance would be higher because we're exceeding that loan to value, so we go from 90% maybe to say 95% as an example. We'll only charge them the PMI, the mortgage insurance, based on that 90 LTV. So not only are we protecting your seller, guaranteeing that value, but we're protecting the buyer's payment. That if that home under appraises, they're not going to pay additional MI because we've guaranteed it. So when we put our stamp on something, that's one thing I'll tell you. To Jay's point, we've both been doing this for 20 plus years, and that is a differentiator for Annie Mac. When Annie Mac says they're going to do something, they do it. So it's absolute guaranteed protection to your seller. So you know. When you're writing offers, cash is king. And in addition to that, the number one thing people are concerned about is, we're $50,000, $70,000 over asking. Is this thing going to appraise? You can guarantee that out of the gate, even if they don't have 20% to put down, even if they don't get a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac appraisal waiver, we will guarantee that value. Yeah. And it's pretty slick.
Yeah, that's awesome. And especially when you're on a highly competitive house, that's just got to be like a breath of fresh air for the sellers to see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that is always a concern
Yep.
when it's like a double-edged sword. You get excited by the escalation, but then there's a certain point where it's like, oh shoot, what's going to happen here? You know
Yep.
what I mean? Am I responsible? Are they responsible? Annie Mac's responsible. That's freaking huge.
Yeah.
And now you're not having to write appraisal gaps in either.
Right.
So you're also, again, protecting the buyer.
Yeah.
It's just a huge win for everybody.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because somebody had mentioned, well, isn't that the same thing as writing an appraisal gap? Well, an appraisal gap has a limit, right? So if you're buying a house for, if it's listed for $299, you're going to offer $350. Maybe you say we'll write an appraisal gap of 10 grand, 20 grand, whatever the number is.
Yeah.
There's a limit there. Appraisal assurance, there's no limit. The house could appraise 200 grand light. We're guaranteeing it. No, we know it's not going to appraise 200 grand.
Right.
But we're guaranteeing. So it doesn't. You're not limited to that 10 or 15 or 20,000 that you were able to talk your customer into doing, assuming they even have the money to do that.
Well,
right.
that's the other thing too. Is it's like most people are putting a lot of their money towards the purchase
Yeah.
of the house, not the competition's purchase. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's something that I've seen time and time again. Is just difficult for clients to come up with that extra money.
Yeah.
Because what are we trying to do when we write an offer? We're trying to risk them. We're trying to give them as many things as we can. We up the EMD. You know what I mean? We offer X, Y, and Z to be able to strengthen our offer.
Sure.
And then to have to go above and beyond with what you said, that gap insurance it's very tough. There's not a lot of people out there with
That can do it.
with money like that. You know. So that's huge, man.
And that's another, piece of cash to keys. Again, the goal, how do we help the agents list and sell more homes? How do we help more consumers get into homes? Well, if you can represent someone as cash and you can guarantee the value, there's a pretty good chance that, price is always going to matter, right? But they should be in the conversation, assuming that their offering is competitive, right? So we make sure we get everyone into that conversation. But with that, we'll do the cash to keys as little as 3% down.
Yeah.
Nobody's doing that, right? We'll do it on a VA loan. Nobody's doing that. We'll do it on an FHA loan. Nobody's doing that.
Yeah.
We'll do it on a second home, an investment property. Nobody's doing those things.
Yeah.
So you can buy your lake house on Sodas Bay or Canada Lake. You can put 10% down. We'll represent you as cash.
That's unbelievable.
And here's our bank statement.
And the best thing about that is, everybody does say cash is king. But in your opinion, what's better, a lump sum of cash or a protected program like this that's represented as cash?
It's a great statement.
Well, that's an interesting question. I would argue that our representation is better than cash because we're guaranteeing everything that you just said, right? So
Absolutely.
that lady in California that didn't want to move to New York, she's happy to walk away from her $20,000 EMD. So even if she was a cash buyer, like a real cash buyer, the deal's dead. She changed her mind. She doesn't want it anymore.
Yeah.
And chances are the attorney is going to negotiate her EMD back anyways at some stage.
Or like, let's just say somebody's sitting on a fat stack of cash at their house, but they have no way to prove that cash.
Yeah.
A cash buyer is no good if you can't
Prove it, right?
prove the money that they're using to do it. Whereas with
Yeah.
you guys, it's represented as cash in the competitive eyes, but it's backed with you guys, which is huge. You know, so I agree. I think a cash guarantee program is much stronger than somebody who says they've got a mattress full of cash in the house because
Ours is stronger.
I agree. Very good.
They're all written on paper, but they're
Yeah.
not all real.
Yeah, they're not all real. It's very true.
That's a good point. That's a
Very
good
true.
point.
I think some other stuff, Brian, that I think we should talk about. We kind of briefly talked about it earlier. Is just kind of some success stories, right?
Yeah.
Proven success stories. So, people that may, watch this question what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Right?
Words are great. Stories are
Right.
even better because it's real people getting real results, and that's what people trust.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to hear about it.
So, we have our Cash to Keys program, which is just somebody who doesn't have a house to sell, right? So we're representing that buyer as a cash. Then we have our buy now, sell later, which we just talked about.
Yeah.
But then we also have, there's another piece of that, which is our Cash Bridge program.
Okay.
So this is where, one of the success stories came into play where at the end of the day, my buyers didn't want to take a mortgage out,
Okay.
right? So what's the use of, for us, what is it in it for us at that particular juncture, right? Because they're not going to take a mortgage out. Well, they're a retired couple. The goal was to buy out on Lake Road in Webster.
Okay.
And, it was a 50-year dream and they had been losing out with another one of our competitors on their offers because they were contingent. All right. They were getting so frustrated, they're like, forget it, I'm just going to stay in my house. And they had a new build home too, which was nice. They didn't need to move.
Right.
They just wanted to be in that area because that was their goal from the day that they got married.
Yeah, which is something you don't want to have to give up.
Correct.
Yeah.
So with that being said, they were referred over to me by a wonderful real estate agent here at the Empire family.
Let's go.
All right. And, we took them to be now non-contingent cash. The deal closed. They didn't take a mortgage out.
That's amazing.
Now, we retain a fee at that particular juncture because that's where we'll make some money at that particular point because we just don't have a mortgage going on the books. But they knew everything inside and out. All of our buyers know all the ins and outs of the programs. They go through, not only do, as loan officers, do we go in and explain everything to them, they then have what we call a borrower call with our home purchase coordinator, which goes over all of that again.
See, and that's so cool because I can't tell you how many people I run into that are like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
What do you mean this is an option? You know, and I know that you guys go above and beyond to educate your people and including us as well, which is, one of the things that I like about the relationship that we've built is you guys have no problem answering the phone, coming out, educating people and agents and consumers as well.
Sure.
Because you don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
And there's so many people that just are so quick to pigeonhole you into the first thing that works.
Yeah.
And that might not be the best solution.
Yep.
And just hearing that is inspiring to me because even though there was a small fee involved, this is business. There's always going to be money involved in accomplishing things. But these clients were banging their heads over something that they wanted to make happen, couldn't make happen, and you guys were able to bring that to life for them. It's a beautiful, beautiful transaction right there. Beautiful story, and I'm sure they didn't even balk at the small bit of finances that it took. So I mean that's incredible, man.
Yeah, because they would have had to take money out of their retirement account, which then they're going to become taxable income at that
Of
particular
course,
juncture. You know what I mean?
dinged left and right.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're going to get taxed from Uncle Sam way more than what our fee is. Trust me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and what's the end goal, right? The end goal is what they wanted. They wanted to be in a house on Lake Road in Webster, and we got them there. And again, how many mortgage companies do you talk to that say, hey, even if you don't need a mortgage, we can help you?
I don't think I talked to one.
No, I don't. I certainly haven't.
Yeah.
But you got all this equity sitting in your house. Ultimately, you're going to pay cash. What are your options? You take a home equity. You move twice, right? You sell, go rent somewhere, stay with family, and then buy in cash. Or you call us, and for a nominal fee, we'll just buy it for you. We'll just buy it for you, and then you can just pay it when you finally sell your house, because we also give you 6 months in that scenario. When you finally sell your house, pay it off. You don't even have to take a mortgage.
For the people that aren't in the market or haven't been struggling in the market, they don't see the value in that. When you're under the gun in a competitive market, it's terrifying. You know what I mean? It really is terrifying for people because I can't tell you how many times I'm working with buyers and we have a goal and a vision. But unfortunately, with the lack of inventory, we have to change our ideas a little bit.
Yeah.
We have to figure out what's going to work for them.
Yep.
But sometimes you can't hit all the boxes. So having programs like this and that peace of mind of being able to kind of have extra time to do that is incredible.
Yep.
Is incredible. Because it's tough. You sell a house and the buyer wants to move in 30 days, but you're not positioned to do that.
Yeah.
So then what? You're going to say, hey, I need post-possession, deal with all of that, can get a little tricky at times.
Oh yeah.
So that's awesome, man. I love hearing stories like that because, in this industry, as you guys know, people get into tough situations all the time.
Yeah.
And when you've worked for as long as those people have, and you have a goal that's mutual from both spouses, to be able to make that happen is incredible for so many people involved. You know? That's beautiful, man. Good job.
Yeah, and I don't want to leave out the I know that I mentioned that we do this with VA as well, and it's a really, really unfortunate thing that in the market right now FHA and VA are kind of looked down on versus conventional. I think it's unfair, and I don't think it's right. Just because somebody's taking a VA loan does not take away from their a VA loan's a great loan. And you should absolutely take advantage of it. You served our country, you should take advantage of that loan. But unfortunately, if a listing agent has a conventional 20 down or cash or anything, they're going to ignore that VA offer, unless it's ridiculously higher than everything else and they want to just take a shot at it. But, the VA loans are getting overlooked, and that's one thing that that we solved with Cash to Keys, because we have speaking of success stories, we had a guy who wrote us a phenomenal testimonial. He lost 5 houses with one of our competitors. Saw something on social media, maybe even something you posted for all I know, right? Something on social media about Annie Mac Cash to Keys. So the agent called me up, and we so I spoke with the guy, and I said, listen, I promise we will get you into the home of your dreams. And after losing 5 houses, he was represented as cash with us, got his first offer accepted.
Yep.
And so it's very, very, very powerful stuff. I mean,
It's incredible.
we're passionate about it, obviously.
Yeah, we are.
But it's truly helping people. And
he actually had money to be able to put down, but why wouldn't he want to use that program?
Of course.
right.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, he could have gone conventional, but
Yeah.
he served our country. It's a better deal.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. It's programs like that that allow us to help people in those situations. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it is exactly like you said. They should be able to use those programs and be, not just entertained on a list of offers, but taken seriously. You know?
Yeah.
That's fantastic, man. I love hearing that. Love hearing that.
Yeah. It's been a wonderful tool in our tool belt, right? And also for you guys too as well.
Yeah.
We're going to continue to have more success stories as we go on here. We just need to get this word out.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm super excited to have you guys here today. Every time we talk, I learn more, and stories like that inspire me and fire me up. I want to go help even more people. Which is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this project with you, because I don't think enough people put the time and effort into learning as much as there is available. Being an agent, we get so focused on lead generation and writing offers, closing deals, getting listings. But taking the time to educate yourself, even if it's a little bit every week, or making phone calls to you guys for those questions, it allows me to widen my tool belt, sharpen my blade, so that I can be more of a warrior for my clients out here in this competitive market. But again, you don't know what you don't know. And when people are afraid to call and ask those questions, you know what I mean? You're missing out on so many opportunities just because you don't know the information.
Yeah.
So I think it's super important to get the word out there. I really appreciate you guys coming out and sit with me on all the times that you have. I want to scream this stuff from the rooftops, and I'm ready to go lock down a new buyer right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
But that's what this stuff does. So real quick, just to get a little personal on this, you've been in the business for a little over 20 years. You've been in it for a little over 20 years. What does working with Annie Mac, what does that mean to you and being in this industry for so long?
I wouldn't ever go back. So I've worked in my career, I've worked for brokers, I've worked for banks, and obviously in IMB, which is what we are, right? I would never leave this platform ever again.
That's awesome.
Because of the not only just what Annie Mac can offer, but the tools that we have, all the products we have over 212 products, Obviously, we have the niche ones that we're always going to continue to use, but I mean, we can still have the ability to broker out when we have, from a non-QM product standpoint, and in the speed. So we're still underwriting all those things in-house on top of that, right? Yeah. So we're not having to report to somebody else, like in the broker model. Now, I'm not bashing that model, but I'm just saying when, speed is everything right now, and this is the opportunity to take advantage of it. In the platform that we have, it's our own business. We're running our own business. Even though we get a W-2, we're still running our own business. So it allows, not only both for me and Jeff, but also for our employees to be able to be successful and grow their business.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, we talk about the 3 Ps at our office, right? So it's people, products, and pay. So we're very careful who we hire. We want to hire a cohesive team. You spend a lot of time with your work family, sometimes more than you spend with your own family. Yeah. So it's super important that we have the right people together, and I think we've nailed it, right? We've got a great team of people that are all on the same page and pushing for the same thing. Products, we've just spent the last hour talking about that, right? So it's important to have something that no one else has, even if they have some version. If you peel the layers back, ours is better. Okay, so yes, other people market different things, but if you truly look at the fine print or the real deal, we have product that no one else has. And then pay. We pay our people pretty much. I don't know anyone that pays like we pay. So
that's cool. And
and it's huge for retention and recruiting.
Absolutely. And retention is a big thing in this business industry. So it's great that you guys are focusing on the culture of the office, making sure that people are getting financially rewarded for their work, because that is one of the biggest things. I mean, we're all in here to feed our families and make money, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting. And one thing that I like about you guys is you guys pay a lot of attention to the problems in front of people, and you get creative solutions to help along the way. And I think that's
Yeah.
one thing that shines through all of your programs and products. So it's a testament to you guys and the way
Appreciate
you treat your
that.
clients.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. Yep.
No, we have we have a phenomenal team that's forward thinking and always, looking for that appraisal assurance we just
Yep.
discussed. That's brand new,
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
and that came to us through a guy in downstate New York that was recruited, and so you just keep putting these A players together, and it just gets better and better. And AnnieMac's a big company, but it's a small company at the same time. I text with our CEO every single day.
That's awesome.
And you don't get that at a lot of places.
That's awesome.
So it's it's a big company doing a lot of volume, but at the same time, we have a voice all the way to the top.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's important.
See, I know the importance of that, because that's how it is here at Empire. Like, I call Jim White at 9 o'clock at night when I'm negotiating a deal, and he,
Yeah.
turns the TV off, tells Cheryl he'll be right back, and he's on the phone with me for 45 minutes making
Yeah.
things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important.
It is important, and it's so nice to be able to know that you have, even with you guys in your experience, you have people that you can rely on that are going to help make the transactions go through. You
Yeah.
know? That's fantastic, man.
Yeah, no, it's good. And thanks for having us, and
Yeah, thank you for having us.
giving us a voice here. It's
Yeah.
great.
Oh, yeah,
It's awesome.
absolutely.
We love the partnership with you guys. It's
Yeah.
it's incredible. So and that's how we view it, right? This is a partnership. We
Absolutely.
all win together,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's the goal. So the more that we can help put families into homes, right? That's your goal every day. That's what you wake up to do. And the more that we can help you with that, everybody wins. The client wins, you win, we win.
Yeah.
And it really does speak very highly, not only to like the business itself, but to your character. I mean, I'm not paying you guys to be here. We're doing this
You're not?
to we'll work out the nitty gritties in a minute here. But this is all about the benefit of agents and clients in this market. You know what I mean? And for you guys to come out just to educate and get the word out there, I mean, it's huge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really, really is. So thank you guys for coming, man.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Brian.
it.
You're the man.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. No
Yes,
doubt, no
definitely.
doubt.